Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar, Rollout DocuSign Spoke in 6 weeks or less. We are General Networks. We're a ServiceNow partner, and we specialize in integrating ServiceNow and DocuSign. My name is PJ Schwartz. I perform the sales function for our ServiceNow division at General Networks. And with me today is Todd Withers. He's our CTO and lead architect of all the solutions that we do for integrating ServiceNow and DocuSign. Next slide, Todd. Okay, so before we start, we are recording the webinar today, and we will send out a link to the recording afterward, as well as a copy of the slides. If you have any questions, please submit them through the Q&A function of the webinar tool. We will have some time at the end to answer questions, but if we're tight on time and we don't get to yours, don't worry. We'll send a summary of all the questions and answers out afterward as well. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Todd Withers. He'll lead us through the demo.
Great, thanks. So let me start and just talk about what we're going to look at today, kind of from an agenda perspective. So I'm going to start and talk a little bit about what DocuSign Spoke is. Then I'll do a quick demonstration. We'll talk about the roadmap taking DocuSign Spoke to production. We'll take a quick look at some of the underlying components that you'll be building. But one thing I want to mention that will be a quick look. This is not a deep technical dive. If you're interested in that, we're considering doing a deeper dive on the technology side in a separate webinar. So if you're interested, there's going to be a poll at the end where PJ is going to ask you about it. And then finally, if you hang around toward the end, PJ is going to give you make a special offer that'll be some free stuff. So hang around and she'll make that available to you. Okay. So the first question I should answer is, what is DocuSign Spoke? Just for those who are not familiar already. Well, very simply, DocuSign Spoke is an integration between ServiceNow and DocuSign. It is part of Integration Hub enterprise level, and it connects these two products. It provides access in ServiceNow to the common parts of the DocuSign API so that you can integrate the tools without writing code. Instead, you use a tool in ServiceNow called Flow Designer. It's a low-code, no-code workflow tool. If you haven't used it already, it's really cool. It's really the next generation workflow process in ServiceNow, so you should take a look if you haven't already. One of the greatest things about using the Flow Designer in Integration Hub is that at the enterprise level, which is what you'll need Integration Hub to be at to get DocuSign Spoke, you'll get not just DocuSign Spoke, but 100 other integrations. So this is really a strategic way of integrating ServiceNow with the other systems that are used in your organization. It really centralizes your approach to integrations and provides a common tool set for your builders so that they can integrate in a low-code, no-code environment with all these different systems in a common way. Really powerful when you use it that way. So that's what DocuSign Spoke is. Okay, so now I'm going to jump right in and do a quick demo so you can see something that was produced using DocuSign Spoke. So in this case, we're going to be sending a non-disclosure agreement from ServiceNow out through DocuSign for signature. And then when that process is done, it'll come back. So we're going to start with a vendor record in ServiceNow. And we're going to show how DocuSign Spoke is going to send out an envelope in DocuSign using a non-disclosure agreement template. It's going to go through the signing process, and then when it's complete, DocuSign Spoke is going to pull that attached document back into ServiceNow. So we're going to see this whole process. I'm going to be able to launch it from ServiceNow, and it's going to go out and do its thing in DocuSign and come back at the end. So this is what you're going to look at right now. Okay. Oh, well, and let me mention, and we're going to see ServiceNow data flowing through. We're going to see a bidirectional integration as we do this. Okay. All right, so let me switch over. So this is the ServiceNow platform. It should look somewhat familiar. In this case, this is the vendor list that we're looking at. This is an off-the-shelf table that comes with ServiceNow where you can manage vendors that you work with. So in our case, I've got this vendor Longneck Consulting that I want to send a non-disclosure agreement to. So I'm going to show you how we can do that with DocuSign Spoke. So here's the record, and I'll just point out a couple of things here. One is you can see we've got the vendor contact information. So Janice Farrow is my vendor contact. Here's her Gmail address. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to send a non-disclosure agreement. It's going to be a mutual NDA, so it's going to be signed by somebody at our company as well. And that person is the head of the IT department, so that's me. So you're going to see this non-disclosure agreement go out and get signed by Janice and get signed by me. Okay, so let me go ahead and click on the, I didn't mention. So normally I'd have to switch over to DocuSign and do this process, but what I get with DocuSign Spoke is the ability to just click a button, in this case right here, send NDA. And just by clicking this button, DocuSign Spoke is going to create an envelope in DocuSign and send it out for signature. And that envelope then is going to eventually come back to here. We'll see that at the end. Okay, so I just get a message that it's been sent successfully. That's great. So it's been sent again to two people, to Janice and to Todd. So I'm going to switch over to Janice's Gmail account right here. And you'll see that she's received an email notification. So this is a standard DocuSign email notification. You can brand these with your company brand, so they look really great. And this is just off-the-shelf DocuSign that you're seeing right here. It's one of the great things about Spoke is it's really just giving you access to all the great functionality that's available in DocuSign. So I'm going to click on Review Document as Janice. And you'll see here that up comes our boilerplate non-disclosure agreement, but we fed some data in kind of a mail merge into DocuSign. So this data came from ServiceNow. It's the name and address of our vendor. Not real complicated what we're doing here. This is just a boilerplate NDA. You can do lots of complicated things if you want to too, but this is a straightforward example. So I'm going to sign here as Janice and click Finish. This is just the standard DocuSign signing experience that you've seen right here. If you're familiar with DocuSign, you've probably seen this before. Okay, so now Janice has signed, but this is a mutual, so Todd needs to sign as well. You can see that Todd's gotten an email notification as well. Looks just like that one. And so I'll click Review Document. I'm going to do this a little bit faster because this is just the counter signature. It looks just like what you just saw a moment ago. Okay, and sign right there. Finish. Okay, and so now with both people having signed, what's going to happen is DocuSign Connect is going to pick back up. If you'll remember from the slide, one moment, from the slide here, right here, this is what DocuSign Spoke is going to do. Is now going to pull that signed document and download it into ServiceNow. So let's take a look at the effect of that. So I'm just going to reload this screen here. And we're going to see that there's a new attachment right here, Mutual Non-Disclosure Agreement. And if I look at that, you'll see our boilerplate NDA with the merged in data and the two signatures at the bottom. So that is what an example, one small example of the many things that you can do with DocuSign Spoke. So we were able to, right from this vendor screen in ServiceNow, send out a non-disclosure agreement, feed data into it, send it to our signers, and then get back that signed agreement at the end of the process. Again, one of many things that you can do with DocuSign Spoke, but that's a good simple example. Okay, just switch back here. So how do you get it done? So how do you build something like that? Well, we like to look at it in a 5-step process that we have right here. So this is our roadmap to roll out. So the first step is to identify a use case. This one's important, and I'll talk about it a little bit more in a moment. You install and configure the DocuSign Spoke. You design your flow. That's using that Flow Designer integration hub. You create your DocuSign template, and you test and deploy just like any other app that you would create in ServiceNow. So this is the high-level process. Let me dig in a little bit. So first, identify the use case. This is an important step. It can be either a new or an existing business process that you have. It should be a good fit for ServiceNow. It should be something that requires a legal signature. That is really the reason to have this integration, is that you have a process that you want to run in ServiceNow, but at some point you need a legal signature. That's where DocuSign really shines. And my advice, start simple. You don't even need to pick something that's real high volume. This is pretty quick and easy to do. Start with something simple so that you can get a win right away and get something up and running. It's not hard to do. If you have a complicated use case, you might end up building a lot in ServiceNow. The integration is simple no matter what, but you might end up building a bunch of stuff in ServiceNow. So start simple and pick a use case that is a good fit. It requires that legal signature. Okay, step 2, install and configure. So there's a couple of resources here. One is this DocuSign Spoke page. This has all of the information about installing DocuSign Spoke. It's quite detailed. It will take you some effort to install this. There's a checklist in here that takes you through all the steps. We'll provide this after the webinar, a link to this, but you can search for it and find it as well. So that'll take you through the installation configuration. One thing to note, you will need to have both a ServiceNow administrator and a DocuSign administrator, because there's some steps on the DocuSign side that you have to execute as well. Honestly, not very many, but there's a couple steps on the DocuSign side. Assuming you're doing this in a lower environment first, like your development environment, you'll want to get a DocuSign Sandbox account. Here's a link for it right here. It's going to take you to a page that looks like this. This is where you can sign up for a free Sandbox account. You can use that in your lower tiers for free. And so it's a great way to get started. It has the full API available and all the different features of DocuSign available. So that's a great way to start out in your lower environments. Okay, so that's step 2, install and configure. Step 3, design the flow. Okay, so to talk about this one, let me actually show you the flow that we actually saw demonstrated a moment ago. So right here is the flow that we just ran as I did the demo. And so just at a high level here, you'll see we created a draft envelope. We assigned the recipients. We sent the envelope. We waited for signatures. And then we downloaded and attached the signed document. This is what one of these flows looks like. It's a really great tool. It gives you that high level access without coding. You just get these nice flow kind of wizard-like steps. I won't talk about this a lot today, but this is what you'll be building as part of building out a flow. I do want to mention one thing, and that is this first step. One of the great lesser known capabilities of DocuSign Spoke and the other spokes is that ServiceNow provides the actual actions to you. That's what these are, is actions to you. They provide the source code. And so if you need a little tweak here and there, it's really easy to do. It's easy to extend these things. Now, you probably need to know something about the DocuSign API to do it, but this is an example of one of these where we've created our draft envelope, but we wanted to provide those values, the name and the address of our vendor in this case. So this is actually not an off-the-shelf action. It's an example of a custom action. Super easy to create, does require you to know the API. You won't need them in all cases. I honestly didn't need it in this case, but since this is going to be part of our special offer at the end, I wanted to include it as part of the demo. So this is that next step. You'll build your flow. And there's a link here that talks about Flow Designer and how to use it and so forth. And there's training classes as well available. So that's step 3, design the flow. Step 4, you're going to create a DocuSign template. Not always. There's ad hoc sending in DocuSign as well, in the DocuSign Spoke as well. But a lot of times you'll use a template. Sometimes they just have like a placeholder document so they can be really simple. But in this case, we actually used a template. And let me give you a look at our template. This was a boilerplate there. So in a DocuSign, they're really great DocuSign templates, very powerful, lots of functionality, again, without coding. But there's 2 primary things that you define in a DocuSign template. The document you want to send. So this is our non-disclosure agreement right here, right? You'll notice without the name and address, right? Because we filled that in from ServiceNow. So you identify the documents and where you want them to be signed. Oops, excuse me, right here. And then you list out the signers. In our case, we had an internal signer, our general network signatory, as well as our vendor signatory. And I'll zoom in real quick so you can see the actual document. You'll see these text fields. And these are spots where we can feed data from ServiceNow, which we did in the demo. So this is a DocuSign template. There's a great resource for designing these. Again, there are training classes available. Right here is a resource that takes you to a user guide for creating templates. So that's step 4. You're going to create your DocuSign template. Step 5, test and deploy. This is just the standard deployment that you're used to in ServiceNow. You're going to use update sets just like you're used to. They will deploy from your lower environments to your upper environments. The additional step is you will need to export and import your DocuSign templates. So that's a little bit different process. Those don't go into your update sets. So that requires a little bit different process, but not too difficult. This will require, when you do a deployment, both your ServiceNow administrator and your DocuSign administrator to play a role, because they each have things that they need to do as part of that deployment. Okay, so those are the 5 high-level steps. Now, obviously, we did not dive deeply into those, but I hope this gives you kind of a roadmap. So if you're having trouble getting started, I hope this gives you sort of a view into just the things you need to get done to get this to happen. For all the detailed steps, certainly refer to the resources that we provided, and we're happy to help further if you're interested or need. And with that, I'm going to hand back to PJ.
Thank you, Todd. That was great. Hopefully it gave everyone a quick view of how you can start working with DocuSign Spoke fairly quickly. As a special offer, as Todd mentioned before, for attending today, we are offering at no cost to you the building blocks from our demo. So what does that mean? We'll give you an update set or two that contain the NDA flow that you can import, the UI action that we use in the demo, as well as that custom action Todd pointed out, the create envelope from template with values. So these will come along to you in an update set, and we will also give you our exported DocuSign NDA template that you can import into your sandbox. All of these building blocks are going to be provided as is, but the idea is that you can put those in your dev environment and start experimenting, get your feet wet with DocuSign Spoke, and figure out how you can adapt and manipulate that to work for your specific use case. If you're interested in those building blocks, please just get back to me on one of my follow-up emails, and I'll send those over to you. And beyond that, if you need further help in working with DocuSign Spoke, I will say we are a professional services company, so we do offer a DocuSign Spoke Quick Start package. And under this package, which is $17,500, we will guide you through the entire roadmap that Todd talked about, installation and implementation of everything. And we will, in addition, review your use case and discover, are there any custom actions that you might need? And if so, up to 3 of those are included in this package.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we're going to do a poll here. So PJ is going to send that out. And really, it's just asking you if you'd be interested in a deep dive. And again, it probably is going to be a little bit longer and probably a little bit, there's not code, so it's not exactly developer centric, but it'll be, diving into the configuration driven parts of things, including the installation. And so if you're interested in seeing something like that, go ahead and vote yes on this poll. And if we get enough people interested, then we'll do a follow-up webinar where we'll do that deep dive. So we're going to wait just a moment here for you all to vote. If you could do that real quick, I'd really appreciate it. And
Thanks,
PJ,
everyone. I see votes coming in. We'll just give it a couple more seconds to get a few more. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm going to end the poll. It does look like we have some interest in a follow-up deep dive webinar. I mispronounced that earlier too. And so we'll send an invitation out for that deep dive webinar in the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for that. It'll probably come from me. And with that, now we have some time for questions. So let me see here what we have. So Todd, I do have a couple. One is, what if I have multiple documents that need to be signed? Can I send those through Spoke, more than one doc?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that is great about DocuSign is within a single envelope, you can send multiple documents to the same set of recipients. And so if you're in a situation in ServiceNow where maybe you have attachments or other documents and there's many of them that you need to send out, you can send all of those out in a single envelope. So there are actions that are part of DocuSign Spoke that let you add as many documents as you like to a particular envelope. So yep, that works fine.
Okay, thanks, Todd. And also the question was, I know you used a UI action here in the demo, but someone asked, can this work with the service portal?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you've, we did this from a UI action because it makes for a nice demo, being honest with you, but you can completely automate these things in the background if you want to. One of the great things about Flow Designer is when you create a flow, you can have it trigger off an event, just like a business rule. So it can just run automatically based on creation of a record in a table or update of a record in a table or many other events. So flows can just run automatically. Of course, they can run from a UI action. We showed that today, but also you could run them from the portal. So if, for example, when somebody is, maybe submitting a direct deposit configuration request or something like that, and you wanted them to sign the authorization as part of that, you could redirect that user from your portal right into DocuSign to sign that direct deposit authorization.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Todd. I did have a question of how do I get the DocuSign Spoke and how much? If you'd like, I'd go ahead and answer this.
Please.
So DocuSign Spoke is part of Integration Hub, which is a ServiceNow SKU. So you buy that from ServiceNow. You do need Integration Hub at the enterprise level in order to get DocuSign Spoke. As far as how much it costs, we do recommend that you consult with your ServiceNow rep for any pricing. And the last question I have here is what other integrations are available?
Oh, there's so many. Okay, I think maybe I have that up. Hold on a second here. Oh, not there. Bear with me. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, so here are a bunch of them. There are a lot, so I'm not going to try to talk to them, but there's Teams. There's you see a Cisco thing there. Slack, Twilio. Is that Twilio or Twilio? Zoom, which we're in today.
Docker.
There's a lot.
Send this link out to everyone in the summary of questions and answers so you can review on your own.
Yeah, and this is really the benefit to going with Integration Hub, particularly at the enterprise level, is you just get this large list. You can see it just goes on and on. Large list of different ways, different systems that you can integrate with. And really the big payoff is that common set of tools. It means that your integration builders, instead of really kind of everything becomes a one-off, right? The way you approach the integrations, instead you have this common way you integrate with other systems. And really you can make ServiceNow kind of the center of hence the term Spoke and Hub. You can make it the center of your integration throughout your organization.
Great, thank you, Todd. I didn't have any more questions come in, so I think that probably wraps us up for today. If you can switch over to the next slide there. So thank you everybody for attending. I hope you picked up a couple useful tips. Again, I will send out a copy of the slides, a summary of the question and answers afterward. And if you would like the building block components at no cost that we offered today to you as an attendee, please just respond to one of those emails and let me know. My contact information is up here on the screen. And of course, you'll get emails from me in the next day or so. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you, Todd.
Thanks all.